Always good to be here, Bree.
So, with the stock market at all times highs, people might feel like they missed out on this big, huge wave, including myself. Now, what are some financial habits that people can adopt to take advantage of it in the second half of the year?
Yeah, well, first, I think it's a great time to reset and take a look at your finances because 6 months have passed, and now you can say, hey, what do I want my finances to look like the next 6 months or the next half of the year? And the first thing that people need to do is just get organized. And what that means is just sit down and lay everything out, your bills, your expenses, your income, everything that you got going on, and get organized before school back to school happens so that you know how much you want to spend for back to school. Get organized before Christmas comes, before you go into debt or overspend on the budget for gifts. So that's the first tip I would say, is to get organized.
Get organized. And any tips on how we should get organized? Should we keep a planner? What about an Excel sheet, Microsoft Word? What should we use?
Yeah, sometimes just a good old pen and paper works. I personally like a spreadsheet. What I did was I filled out all my expenses, all my bills, and put on a spreadsheet. And then I listed all the income that I had coming in. And it really gave me a big picture of how much I would have left to spend or to invest. And that kind of goes into tip number two, is to invest no matter how big or how small the amount is. I think sometimes people get caught up in thinking, I don't have a lot of money to invest. But it's not about how much you have. It's about getting started and let that money work harder for you than you work for it.
Now, we say start big, small, wherever you're at, just start. But is there such thing as too small?
There's no such thing as too small. And I believe when you think about one of the tips I think is also important is that you should write out your financial goals and then you should tie them to the habits that you need to have to hit those goals. And so when you look at your goals, there's no amount that's too small to help you start out on that path to get into your dreams and goals. And so the key is just starting. Whether you
Yeah.
start walking as a baby, you start riding a bike, the point is you have to get started. And so no amount is too small.
So you're telling me I can invest a penny and that's enough?
You know, there's this expression or there's this saying that would you rather take $1 million one time, or would you rather take, I think, $50,000 every other week, or would you take a penny a day for the rest of your life, compounded? And it showed that the penny a day actually outgrew taking $1 million one time. So
Really?
yes, I need to look that up for you so we can bring it up for our viewers.
Okay, so a penny compounded. So if I invest in a penny in the market, you're saying that'll eventually grow to more than $1 million. How long will it take?
You know, I don't have the math in front of me, but it was the example was, would you take $1 million one time, or would you take a penny that doubles every single day? So next day you'd have 2 cents, next day you'd have 3 cents, but over time, that penny actually grew to be way more than taking $1 million one time. So the point
Wow.
was, no amount is too small to get started with.
Wow. And I feel like it's trial and error too. If you start with a penny, you can kind of start to see what trends the market follow and whatnot too. So yeah, so I could see that. I could see that happening. So we do have your tips for our viewers right here on the screen. I think we did two or three of these. But I mean, many people are confused when it comes to managing their money, let alone investing. I mean, what are some financial habits that we can do right now to make the summer the best time for us to get started with investing?
I think number three is super important again. Tie your budget to your goals. So that way you say, okay, I want to invest $1,000 this year. Then when you budget, you know why you're not eating out. You know why you're not going overboard on your Christmas gift. So that one's huge. The other one is automating your savings and your investments. A lot of times, when you don't see the money come out, you don't spend what you don't see. So if you have $100 a month going into an investment account, at the end of 12 months, you'd have $1,200 to invest. A lot of people do this when it comes to Christmas. They'll set up a Christmas account and put money in it so that they can spend it. So you're already tied to that type of discipline. But how about we think about doing that with our investments as well? So that's a huge one. And then the last one is upgrade your money mindset. Money's typically not taught at home, is rarely taught in schools. And so you might have to read some books like Think and Grow Rich. You might have to read some books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or even my book, which I recommend, is 5-Year Millionaire. So you can start to learn how small amounts can compound and you can potentially start your millionaire journey within 5 years.
Wow. So it seems like organization and mindset's a really big component here. Then it comes to investing and whatnot, how much you want to invest and whatnot. Because I feel like you have to get yourself in the mindset that, okay, I'm going to invest, I'm going to use my money, I'm going to give purpose to my money outside of me just spending it.
It all starts with a mindset.
Yeah.
It's just like the lottery winner. If they win $1 million a day, typically they end up going broke because they haven't changed their mindset to catch up with the financial gain that they just had. And I like to say this too as well. I'll say, if I gave you $1 million today, how would you invest it? And most people are like, I don't know.
I
So
go to the casino.
some
That's
people
not an
go to the
investment,
casino,
huh?
right? So if you had the money, you still wouldn't know what to do with it. So it just goes to show that the money is not the asset. The knowledge and having a game plan and the right mindset is really the asset to becoming a good investor and having your money work harder for you than you work for it.
All right, good stuff. Jason Brown, thank you very much.
Bree, thanks for having me.
Well, it's